We have to be able to set up our schools so that when kids return, they are safe and that schools stay open. Some of these proposals will take longer than others, but at the end of the day, we must make sure that our kids are going back to schools that are safe and will remain open. And that's, pretending that these things aren't necessary, that downloading it onto school boards and saying it's up to them and sort of closing your eyes, crossing your fingers and looking the other way, that is a formula for more open, close, stress, anxiety, frustration on the part of parents, and of course the unfortunate spread of the illness as well. And that needs to stop. And so that's why we're putting this together.
First, the HCP must address and assess public reports and share that information publicly about absentee rate and infection rates that are projected for school staff. This will give us all a picture of whether schools will be forced to close again due to a lack of staff. We need to have a candid conversation based on data. Second, the UCP must provide immediate funding to move substitute teachers onto contracts for the remainder of the school year. This will help backfill staffing levels and enable us to hire additional substitute teachers where possible. We have seen schools repeatedly forced to close because there simply aren't enough teachers, and that's likely to happen again if we don't change things. The UCP needs to move aggressively to get ahead of that problem. Third, the UCP must provide N95 masks for staff and students. The masks Minister LaGrange is offering are inadequate. And I was very disappointed to hear her try to conceal this by calling them medical grade. Medical professionals continue to point out that N95 masks offer the best protection against airborne spread, and we now know COVID is airborne. Medical grade masks are not necessarily N95 masks, and N95s are what we need. If the UCP provides inadequate masks, we will get inadequate results. Fourth, an effective safety measure is to install HEPA filters. Public health officials agree that COVID is airborne and that air filters can help reduce the risk of spreading COVID in confined spaces. We're also proposing that schools have carbon dioxide detectors, and these are portable and inexpensive. They measure how effectively a school's ventilation system is at refreshing air in classrooms. Fifth, we're renewing our call for funding for hiring a mental health counselor for each Alberta school. As Rachel said, these past 2 years have really strained students, staff, and family. Students are dealing with stress, isolation, and uncertainty unlike anything we've seen in generations. Many have families that are struggling with job loss and economic uncertainty. Some have lost loved ones in the pandemic. For students to succeed, they must have access to mental health care. And lastly, the UCP must create an Alberta Learn From Home Fund to support families when their kids are forced to stay at home. It's inevitable that some and possibly all families will go through this again, and it creates real costs for families at a time when everything is already getting more and more expensive.